Have you ever stopped to think that nothing, absolutely nothing in your life, is by chance? What if I told you that your soul, with all its ancestral wisdom, chose every detail of your experience before you even took your first breath? Sounds crazy, right? Even more so when we look around and see so much pain, so much chaos, so much senseless running. But what if all this confusion was actually part of secret training for your spiritual transformation? Most people live trapped in the illusion of material reality, believing that life is all about paying bills and surviving. And that's where the big trap lies, living without knowing who you really are, without realizing that there is a deep purpose hidden in every choice, in every challenge, in every tear and smile. What few have the courage to admit is that awakening is possible, and faster than you think, when you understand the bigger plan behind the human experience. So, if you feel, even if it's deep down, that your story here has something more, stay with me, because today you will discover truths that can completely transform your consciousness, and open your eyes to a journey that began long before your first cry in this world. Even before the first breath of life touched his lungs, his soul, wise and purposeful, had already made a profound spiritual choice. Every detail, from the family you would be born into to the challenges you would face, was carefully orchestrated as part of the soul training. It was not chance, it was decision. As an artist who chooses your paints and your canvas, you chose to live this human experience, knowing that, in the midst of oblivion, you would find seeds of spiritual transformation. Isn't it curious to think that even his greatest pains were in the script of the evolution of the soul? Many people believe that they came into the world by accident, or that life is just a series of unconnected accidents, but this is part of the illusion of reality that our society pushes on us. In fact, awakening begins when one realizes that before birth there was an active consciousness shaping the path. The feeling of being out of place, or of not belonging, is often the first echo of this larger plan, like an old memory trying to emerge from oblivion. The spiritual choice is in every detail, even that friendship that changed your life or that loss that made your soul tremble. Want practical examples? Think of something you've always felt was natural to you, perhaps playing an instrument, healing with your hands, or understanding the suffering of others with ease. These abilities are not mere talents, they are clear indications of your soul training even before this reincarnation. And it is precisely by following these clues that inner growth and awakening to a much greater journey begins. And guess what? This is just the beginning of something even deeper that you need to know. From an early age, society dresses every soul in a heavy cloak of oblivion. We are taught to identify with the body, with the name, with titles and possessions, as if that were the totality of our existence. It is as if a veil is placed over our eyes, and the glow of the soul is hidden behind the mad race for status and success. This forgetfulness is not a mistake, it is part of the training of the soul. Only in the temporary loss of full consciousness is true awakening born. Who hasn't caught themselves, in the middle of their routine, thinking, "Is that all?" This illusion of reality is fed every day, in the small details. You see, how many times have you heard that, time is money, or that, we need to win at any cost? These phrases are not harmless, they are the cement of the building that takes us away from our inner growth. The human experience, rich in challenges and disappointments, only becomes complete when the soul begins to question this theater. A good self-observation exercise is to write it down, for a week, each time you feel like you're living on autopilot. Then, meditate on it. I guarantee you'll start to sink in. It is precisely at this point that the first sparks of spiritual awakening arise, that restlessness, that feeling that there is something more, that strange synchronicity that happens just when you most need a sign. None of this is by chance, friend. These little noises in the matrix are the call of the soul's evolution, pulling on your invisible thread so that you can remember who you really are. And, speaking of which, the echoes of the past have a lot to reveal about this reunion with their essence. Who has never felt that strange déjà vu, that inexplicable feeling of having lived a scene before? Well, this goes far beyond tricks of the mind. They are living echoes of the evolution of the soul. These experiences, often subtle, are reminders that the karmic cycle is still active and that your soul carries deep memories even before this reincarnation. You know that dream so real that it seemed more like a memory than an invention? Or that instant connection with someone you just met? Well, soul recognizes soul, even under the veil of oblivion. These experiences don't just come to make you curious, they're precious clues in soul training. Imagine, for example, that you repeatedly dream of the same city you've never visited, or you feel an overwhelming love for a specific culture for no rational reason. Don't ignore these signs. A useful practice is to keep a journal of your dreams and strange feelings. Meditation focusing on them can reveal hidden lessons and boost your spiritual transformation. It's like putting pieces of a giant puzzle together. Little by little, the true image of your soul begins to reveal itself. It is fascinating to realize that these echoes also influence our current spiritual choices, even without the conscious mind realizing it. Sometimes, a profession, a passion, or even an irrational fear carry deep roots in past existences. And guess what? Understanding these patterns is a huge step towards releasing attachments that delay the evolution of the soul. But to continue moving forward in this awakening, it is necessary to understand the place where we are now, the greatest spiritual school of all, the earth. Life on earth, despite its turmoil and pain, is not a punishment, but a rare gift for the evolution of the soul. Every human experience, from the most heartbreaking loss to the most sublime love, is like a practical lesson in the great college of the universe. It may seem harsh at first, but each challenge carries a golden opportunity for inner growth. The soul, before birth, already knew that the true gold of spiritual transformation is found precisely in the moments when we most want to give up. It is in these moments that the training of the soul intensifies. It is common that, in the midst of suffering, the mind screams that everything is unfair, that life is cruel. But the wise observe with self-observation and meditation, understanding that even pain has its sacred role in awakening. Let's be practical. The next time you go through something difficult, instead of asking, "Why this with me?" try asking, "What is my soul trying to learn from this?" This small change in perspective, even if it seems simple, is a true master key to accelerating spiritual transformation. And look, this journey is not made up of tears alone. Great loves, unexpected friendships, encounters that seem to have been stitched together by synchronicity, all of these are also part of the human experience. Each smile, each sincere embrace, is a reminder of what we are in essence, pure consciousness clothed in matter. And if we look closer, we will realize that these luminous moments also carry seeds of detachment and lessons for the next stage of the karmic cycle that inevitably calls us to reflect on something even deeper. The cycle of reincarnation is like a school without automatic graduation. The soul comes back and forth until it truly learns the lesson of detachment. As long as we are clinging to possessions, titles, or old wounds, we will be stuck on the merry-go-round of human experience. And between us, it's no use just talking about detachment. You have to feel, act and release, from the inside out. The soul, in its eternal wisdom, constantly seeks to free itself from the shackles it has built up during its journey. Every wrong spiritual choice or right thing is, at bottom, a chapter in the book of the evolution of the soul. Want to see how this appears in everyday life? Think of those stories of people who, even though they have everything, money, fame, power, feel a huge void. The true wealth of the soul does not fit into coffers or status. A powerful exercise is to look at an object or a situation that you value too much and ask, if I missed this today, who would I be? The answer may hurt, but it points out exactly where attachment still ties your inner growth. The meditation on impermanence, so taught by ancient masters, is a direct way to strengthen this awareness. And as long as we do not let go of these invisible ties, we will continue in the karmic cycle, traveling between lives, reincarnation after reincarnation. However, the good news is that each incarnation brings new opportunities, new human experiences that favor the release of old attachments. And you know what happens when we finally start to release these loads? The soul prepares to pass through new portals of evolution. And here comes an even more intriguing process that almost no one talks about: purgatory and true purification. After the last breath, the soul's journey does not end. In fact, it just changes stages. Many call it purgatory, but the idea is not punishment, it is purification. The soul, still carrying remnants of attachments and guilt from the human experience, goes through a process of release of attachments that works as a spiritual bath. It is not something that happens with anger or punishment, but rather as a deep self-observation in which each spiritual choice is revisited. It is like remembering each chapter of life, but with the eyes of full consciousness. Imagine, for example, feeling in an amplified way the pain you have caused in others, not to suffer, but to understand and awaken a new compassion. This is the true training of the soul after death. To prepare while still alive, practices such as sincere forgiveness and meditation on one's actions are powerful exercises. A good example is writing forgiveness letters. Even if you never send them, this symbolic liberation is already a huge spiritual transformation. Small conscious actions today can greatly smooth the purification process tomorrow. This afterlife stage is so crucial that many European sages and mystics, such as Eckhart and Bohm, have dedicated their lives to studying it. They claim that the more consciousness we bring into the human experience now, the less there will be a need to purge later. And the beauty of it all? Each step taken towards forgiveness and detachment sets the stage for something even greater, the true awakening of the soul during one's own incarnation, which is what comes next on this fascinating journey. Awakening is not a magical and sudden event as many imagine. It is built, step by step, through conscious practice. Meditation, self-observation, and detachment form the tripod that sustains this journey of reconnection with the true nature of the soul. Society has taught us to look outside for what we will only find inside, and that's where the trap of the illusion of reality lies. Anyone who has ever felt that, even achieving goals and dreams, something was still missing, has already received the first call for this awakening. And guess what? That's just the tip of the iceberg. Want to put this into practice? Start by dedicating 5 minutes of your day to meditation, even if you think you don't know how to meditate. A good tip is to use apps like Insight Timer or follow guided practices from masters like Muji or Sadhguru. As for self-observation, a powerful exercise is to do consciousness checks throughout the day. What am I feeling right now? Where does this come from? This type of questioning not only expands consciousness, but also gradually undoes the knots of the karmic cycle that still bind us to oblivion. And you see, detachment is not abandoning everything and living in a cave, unless you want to, of course. It is learning to enjoy the human experience without being imprisoned by it. It is to savor coffee, to love intensely, to work with passion, but without losing sight of the fact that all of this is temporary and serves inner growth. When you begin to live like this, synchronicities multiply, the signs of the universe become clearer, and a new layer of reality unfolds before your eyes. Ready to see the signs? Forgiveness is one of the most revolutionary acts a soul can perform within the human experience. I am not talking here about that automatic forgiveness, forced to appear evolved, but rather that which is born from the depths of the soul, with full awareness of the suffering experienced. When you truly forgive yourself or others, you break an invisible chain that keeps the soul trapped in the karmic cycle. It is like dropping an anchor that has long prevented the boat of the soul's evolution from sailing. And let's face it, holding grudges is like drinking poison while waiting for the other to get sick. Do you want to know how to work on forgiveness in a practical way? A powerful exercise is to write down in a notebook all the people, situations, and even feelings that you still carry as open wounds. Then, do a ritual of release. It can be by burning the paper, safely, or by burying it in the earth, surrendering to nature your spiritual choice of liberation. This simple gesture, combined with meditation focused on forgiveness, creates a silent but profound spiritual transformation. And don't forget, forgiving yourself is just as vital as forgiving others. When the soul begins to clear this inner ground, something magical happens. Synchronicities sprout on the path like flowers after rain. Life begins to flow more lightly, and the sense of inner growth becomes almost palpable. It is as if the entire universe conspires in favor of your spiritual evolution. And, speaking of synchronicities, have you ever noticed how certain chances seem to guide us like clues left for those who are starting to wake up for real? Have you ever noticed how certain coincidences are so accurate that it seems impossible that they are just the result of chance? This is synchronicity, the soul communicating directly with you, subtly breaking through the veil of the illusion of reality. A number that repeats itself, a book that falls into your hands at the right time, a conversation that brings exactly the answer you needed. These are all signs that the human experience is more orchestrated than it seems. And the more you awaken, the more these messages become clear, like beacons illuminating the spiritual journey. Do you want to strengthen this connection with the universe? A practical exercise is to keep a synchronicity journal. Write everything down, numbers that are repeated, unexpected encounters, forebodings that are confirmed. Over time, you will notice incredible patterns, revealing paths to inner growth and soul evolution. In addition, meditation focused on opening up to signs further enhances this communication. A good start is to practice daily visualizations asking for clarity to notice the signs throughout the day. The most interesting thing is that synchronicities do not arise only to confirm steps taken, but also to provoke the awakening to greater spiritual choices. When we follow these clues with courage, we enter a flow of spiritual transformation where everything seems to magically fall into place. And this magical dance with the universe only deepens our awareness that life is not just suffering or challenge. It is an alchemical process, shaping the soul as a goldsmith shapes gold. And it is at this point that true spiritual evolution begins to unfold before our eyes. The evolution of the soul is a silent and powerful process, like the transformation of lead into gold in ancient spiritual alchemy. Each tear, each pain experienced, is raw material for this sacred work of inner growth. The human experience, often painful, is not a punishment, but rather a furnace where the spirit is refined. The soul that understands this starts to look at difficulties with the eyes of wisdom, seeing in them not destruction, but rebirth. It is the true training of the soul, to endure, to learn, and to flourish. Do you want to speed up this alchemical process? A simple habit is to practice active gratitude, especially for difficult times. Grab a notebook and write down 3 challenging things you are grateful for every day. Yes, it's hard at first. But this teaches the heart to transmute suffering into wisdom. Another tip is to look for readings that inspire this transformation, such as The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle or The Immoral Soul by Nilton Bonder. These books help to broaden consciousness and support the evolution of the soul in the midst of chaos. And the more the soul evolves, the more it detaches itself from the illusion of material reality and approaches pure consciousness. Suffering begins to lose its paralyzing force and becomes fuel for compassion and detachment. Each stage overcome in this inner alchemy prepares the spirit for even greater leaps, and it is exactly at this point that grandiose ideas begin to emerge, inspired by the masters of philosophy who understood, back then, the mysteries of this journey. Great masters of philosophy and psychology have tried, each in their own way, to decipher the mysteries of human experience and the evolution of the soul. Kant, for example, spoke of the categorical imperative as an inner compass, something very close to our spiritual choice before birth. Jung, with his concept of the collective unconscious, practically drew the map of forgetfulness and the need for self-observation to awaken. It is fascinating to see how these ideas, even spoken in academic language, point straight to the spiritual transformation we discuss here. Nietzsche, on the other hand, despite his provocative tone, also contributed immensely to the understanding of the journey of the soul. His idea of the eternal return echoes ancient wisdom about the karmic cycle and the need to release attachments to break patterns. If we think about it, each teaching of these thinkers serves as a tool for the evolution of the soul. How about exploring these ideas further? Reading Jung's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, or Memories, Dreams, Reflections, can be a great starting point for deepening your soul training. And we cannot forget the European mystics, such as Jacob Boehme, who spoke about the awakening of the soul as a divine flame lit within each being. They reinforced the view that the human experience is an ongoing invitation to self-exploration and detachment. When we connect these influences to the daily practice of meditation and inner growth, we realize that we are not alone in this search. In fact, we are part of a long line of spiritual seekers. And all this leads us to an even more urgent call, the invitation to awaken. In the end, this whole journey, all these lessons and synchronicities, converge into a simple but profound invitation, to awaken. Living consciously is not just a spiritual choice, it is an act of rebellion against the oblivion imposed by society. It's like deciding, every day, to see beyond the illusion of reality and remember that we are much more than flesh and bones. The human experience is important, yes, but it is only a fragment of the training of the soul towards the true evolution of the soul. And that call, my friend, is echoing within you right now. If you're reading this, it's because you already feel that inner restlessness, that feeling that there's something more waiting to be lived. So why not start now? Create small rituals of self-observation, practice daily meditation even for 5 minutes, cultivate emotional detachment consciously. Awakening doesn't have to be dramatic, it happens in the small choices, in the subtle actions, in the moments of silence when the soul finally manages to whisper through the confusion of the outside world. Choose spiritual transformation, choose life in fullness. And remember, the awakening soul inspires others around it, like a flame that ignites another without losing its shine. Your evolution is not just about you, it is part of a collective movement, an invisible intertwining of consciousnesses that are breaking the bonds of forgetfulness. And this, my dear, is just the beginning of a journey infinitely greater and more luminous than anything we can imagine. Now tell me, you will continue to live as if you were just a body walking on automatic? Or will you accept once and for all your soul's call to awaken? The choice is totally yours, and it starts with small gestures, with the decisions you make every day, even the simplest ones. Are you willing to break the cycle of forgetfulness and truly live, with awareness and purpose? Or will you let another life go unnoticed, repeating old patterns? What are you going to do differently from today to honor your spiritual choice? I want to see you sharing here in the comments. What has been the biggest insight you've had so far? What will be your first step in this new cycle of inner growth? And oh, if you want to continue on this journey of soul evolution, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and come with me to unveil the deepest layers of your existence. Your soul will thank you, and the universe will conspire in your favor.